comes a point in every season of Hermitcraft where I, in my infinite wisdom, decide to take on a project that is bigger than life itself. That day is today. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you know I've already kind of hinted at this, that the project I'm about to start is, I have no reservations in saying this is the biggest project I've ever done in the history of Minecraft. This is easily going to take me at least a month or so to do, but when I'm done, the entire Hermitcraft server is going to have a game that we can all play that, quite honestly, I think it might be the highlight of Season 7. Now, this video took a little bit longer to come out than most. There's a little bit bigger of a gap, and that is because I've spent probably the better part of the last 3 days designing this game to make sure it's going to have a really solid design. It's going to be fun for everyone, but it's in depth, and we're going to spend probably the majority of today describing how this game is played. And the reason I'm sitting here in the shopping district is because this game is going to be below the shopping district, and it's going to take up a large area. So the game is going to have 2 main areas, which we'll get into all that in a little bit, but the main area is going to be a 100 by 100 area, going from like right there to like over there to like there to like here, that 100 by 100 blocks or so. I think B-Dubs is over there. I think B-Dubs is building something. So first things first here, let's cut right through the chase. I have a massive hole to dig, like 250,000 blocks on this one. And Cubby's got like an underground waterway path thing that goes off that way. So I'm going to kind of start my thing like right here, and it's going to go that way. Dig, I might recruit some help. 100 by 100 by 25 equals 6 hours of digging. And I think I busticated like 5-6 picks because I was watching a movie and just clank. Oh, there goes that one. Clank. Oh, there goes another one. It's just the worst. I can't pay attention to that stuff. But anyways, look, massive hole here for the game we are about to make. And what game are we going to make in here? Well, it's complicated. It's complicated, but to start things off, we are going to build a 100 by 100 dungeon. And this dungeon is going to be handcrafted with custom rooms and themed areas and everything. And hey, Tango, it's going to have like unique corridors and secret passages. But I'm getting ahead of myself here because I want to describe this game in a way that everyone can understand it. So we're going to break it down into little pieces so that it makes sense to everyone here. But to summarize this game, we are about to make a deck building, dungeon crawling, treasure hunting, collect 'em all trading game. Wait, what? What? A deck building, dungeon crawling, treasure hunting, collect 'em all trading game. Of course, that's what I thought you said. So that's obviously a lot to take in. So what I want to do is try and break down all those descriptors one at a time, and so that you get an idea of what this game is about, okay? And this is, by the way, this is where the entrance is right now. I'll make a much more formal entrance much later, okay? But let's talk about the first one, dungeon crawling, okay? It's not the first one on the list, but it's the first one I'm going to talk about. Now, I've made a sample here of, and this is just a sample. I just threw this together. It's not as, it's not done to the standards that I would want it to be, or it's pretty close, though. Now, imagine, like, this kind of dungeon thing, right? You're going down, it's creepy and everything, and you turn the corner and it opens up into a room, and it's like, oh, this is like some kind of altar room or something here, right? And it's all dark and dingy and everything. Now, there might be different themes to this dungeon, too. Like, this could be, and I can almost guarantee I will make a Blackstone themed area within the dungeon. Maybe like one of the quadrants is Blackstone and red nether brick, maybe even. I like that. I like this style right here. It's kind of creepy with the soul lanterns and everything. But there, that's just 1/4 of the dungeon, right? There could be, and there will be, a traditional stone-based section. There may be even more of like a potentially some kind of like wood section or a natural section. We might bring in some more pieces of the nether even inside here, like a warp section and a crimson section. And as you've probably noticed, we even have a couple of spawners here. I lucked out, did some looking around underneath the shopping district, and there were 2 spawners here that I just wanted to fit in here just right. So the position of this giant 100 by 100 cube is mostly driven by these 2 spawners. I want to have like an undead theme. This is a zombie spawner. That is a skeleton spawner. So this quadrant of the dungeon will probably be a lot of like, that might be like the boneyard over there. And now we're going to get naturally spawning skeletons inside here, which is really cool. Now, of course, no dungeon would be complete without traps. I could add traps all throughout here. We could even have like secret passageways. Like imagine there was like a little button like right there. Okay. And obviously there wouldn't be a hole in the floor and stuff, but imagine there was a little button right there and you press that and little door opens up here or something that takes you to another part of the dungeon. I'm all for that stuff. So as you can see, we have a massive area here to fill with this dungeon here, and that's intentional. So what I'm going to do now is pop up on the screen an example dungeon map that I downloaded online, and it's kind of got a really close, proportion to the dungeon that I want. This is not what I'm going to do, but it will be something very much shaped like this. The room shapes, the corridor shapes, that kind of style. So something like that is what I want the hermits to be crawling through. So you're probably asking by now, all right, that sounds great, but why do the hermits want to go in here? What's the whole point? What's the game? Well, the hermits are going to get opportunities to enter the dungeon probably once a day or so, and I'll get into all that later, but their goal is to enter this dungeon, explore it, and find the loot, and more particularly, find an artifact or a set of artifacts, because that is what the entire game is about. They want to explore the dungeon, find artifacts, make sets of artifacts, and hand them in to gain points. And the first hermit to get whatever amount of points I decide wins the game. When the players enter this dungeon, they're going to be naked. Nothing on, no armor, nothing in their offhand, no inventory. All they will get is a diamond pickaxe, and it will be unenchanted. That is all. And very importantly, you cannot break any blocks and you cannot place any blocks while in the dungeon, with the rare exceptions that I will specify in a little bit. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, there's going to be 2 ravagers loose in the dungeon hunting you down. All right, so if we're gonna make the hermit's trip into the dungeon be interesting, it's gotta be different every time they go in. It can't just be like, oh, I go to the treasure room and I get the same loot I get every time. That's boring, right? So what we're gonna do, and this idea is really what stemmed this entire project came from this. So I need to get some of this shiny here, probably actually some of that, I think. This is the first ancient debris I've actually smelted. Come on, give me some fuel. We are going to cook this up to get some netherite scraps, I think they're called. Scraps are all cooked up, and now we want to make some ingots, or 1 ingot, I should say. And now we're gonna put it in the center. We're gonna go swoop to swoop around the edges, and we are gonna make a lodestone. This guy is the secret to this whole game. So for those of you that don't know how the lodestone work, this thing is a magical little happy fun time block. I love it, okay? Looking all normal and everything. You take a compass that is a normal compass, you right click on the lodestone, bam. And you get achievements just like that. But what's great now is you have an enchanted compass now, okay? And this compass doesn't point to the origin. It points to the lodestone. No matter where you go, as long as you are in the same dimension as the lodestone it was configured for, it will always point to it. But if the lodestone breaks at any time, the compass reverts back to like crazy town mode. Look at it. You can see it down in the corner there. It is just like, it's like pointing as if it was just completely broken now. So every day as the administrator of this game, I am going to be randomly hiding lodestones somewhere in the dungeon, okay? And now hermits that are lucky enough to get one of the compasses that are configured for these lodestones will then be able to go through the dungeon and try to use the compass to figure out where in the dungeon is their loot. And eventually, when they get to it, you can see the compass right now is like, no matter where I go, it's just turning around. We found the spot, okay? So it's right there. At this point, you're allowed to dig out that block, and you see the lodestone that your compass is pointing at, okay? You break the lodestone, thus breaking your compass, and down there, you find the ultimate treasure. Now this gets us to the second part of the game I want to talk about now, the treasure hunting aspect of the game, okay? So every day after I drop a lodestone in a random section of the dungeon and I configure a compass, or I bind a compass to it, I'm going to put that compass in a shulker box and I'm going to hide it somewhere here in the shopping district. And this is where the hermits come in. This is their first step. What they're going to need to do is search this, hopefully on a daily basis, and look for these shulkers that I am hiding randomly in the shopping district, okay? And when they find one, they open it up, and inside they will find the compass that is bound to the game. I'll probably rename these. By the way, I'm thinking of calling the game Decked Out. I think that's a clever name. Someone in stream suggested it, and it's kind of fun. So I think the game will be called Decked Out, and there's also going to be a currency in the game, which is going to be these emeralds, and I'm giving a unique name with a little symbol there, so hopefully they can't be copied in as much. But this is what you'll get every day. You'll get a compass and maybe a little bit of currency for the game. So then, of course, you just take that compass out, take the money, because you're going to need that for other things in the game, grab the compass and go over to the dungeon, and you're ready to go in. To enter the dungeon, there will be a fee, and that fee will be in this decked out currency, in emeralds essentially. So you're going to need to save your emeralds for every run that you want to make in Decked Out. Okay, so we know how it's going to be a dungeon crawl game, and we now know how it's going to be a treasure hunting game up in the shopping district. Let's now talk about how this is going to be a collect-em-all trading game here, because I am going to introduce artifacts, and these are artifacts. Now, I will openly admit that this section of the game is inspired by Rendog's Season 5 game, Hermitcraft, or Hermitron Go, I think it was called. It was a fantastic game. It was a lot of fun, and all the hermits really got into it. So I'm hoping they do the same for this. So artifacts now are the treasure that you will find underneath your lodestone that the compass directs you to, okay? And now these come in sets, so each color is a set, and we have 4 pieces in each set. So we have a common, an uncommon, a rare, and a unique, okay? And obviously the rarity of them is going to be, you know, obviously there's only one of these, and there's probably going to be like 4 of these, 3 of these, and 2 of these in the whole game or something. I'm not sure on all that stuff. I have to work that out. We'll see. But a color is a set, and obviously there are going to be many colors. I don't know how many colors or how many different sets there will be. That's going to be determined based on how many hermits are going to play, but I'm thinking in the 6 to 10 range. But the idea is if you collect all the pieces in a set, hand them into some crazy whammy-jammy machine that will detect that and automatically give you points on your board here. So every hermit is going to have their own personal, like, scoreboard, I guess you could call it, area, like a scoring area, okay? And it's going to look something like this. It may change. I don't know. Maybe the blocks will change or whatever. But the idea is that you have 12 pieces here. These are all the pieces you own. You cannot hold pieces in your inventory. If you pick a piece up, it has to go on your board. And when your board fills up, you have to start making hard choices. You have to take an item off the board and return it to the system. There will be a place in the hall over there, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But then, you know, you basically return the pieces to the game. So you can only have 12. So you got to be choosy about what you want to keep. But now when you do turn in a set, okay, and it's detected, like, okay, you got all 4 of the green set, you will get a point or maybe even 2 points depending on the set, all the way up to 10. And I think it's going to be the first one to 10 wins. So imagine, I think over there, I got another huge digging project over there. Imagine another hall filled with like 10 of these scoring boards or whatever, 1 for each hermit. And I may allow the hermits to like decorate their own scoring board or something very similar to Hermitron Go Season 5, because I think that was a fun thing. So that is how he keeps scores. So you'll be able to walk into this hall and just look down and see everyone's score. I'm thinking I might put like the hermit's skull like on the, get 2 of them, because I think Cleo still got all the skulls. If I could put 2 of every hermit's skull on the board so you know whose board it is, I think that might be pretty cool. And I should also point out that trading with other hermits is heavily encouraged. Obviously, you can trade artifacts. Hermits can make their own custom deals. You know, hey, I'll trade you a red for a green, whatever it may be. Or you can even incorporate these, these emerald currency points as well too. So maybe hey, I'll give you 20 emeralds for a rare or something. I have no idea. Who knows? It's up to them. All right, we've been talking about the game for quite a while here. I want to make a little bit of progress here, more than just digging a hole today, which all I'm going to do now is dig a bigger hole, but we're still got the best part of the game to go, the deck building, which you guys are absolutely going to love, I think. But we got to stop by the new shop in town. It's Lamps Plus. They sell lamps. I gotta go buy a lamp. Look at this place. It's amazing. Look at this. It feels absolutely beautiful. Look at all the, I literally feel like I'm in a lamp shop here. Where's the lamps I need? I think these are the lamps I need. Yes, those are shiny lamps. Expensive lamps, though. I tell you, I got my money. Diamond block for a lamp. Oh, more digging and more planning. And apparently I made a bat farm, too. There's a lot of bat farms around here lately. So I dug a lot more out, all this space out, everything. Okay, now this is kind of all before the dungeon. I'm going to show you. This is like what I'm calling the main hall here. This is where you can see I have a bunch of the player scoreboards just kind of pegged into place here. There's a 10 on each side, so there's enough for 20 hermits to play this game. Probably more than actually will, but I went through the actual list and it's not out of the question. If this game is popular, 20 hermits could play. So there's room for, you know, each one of them to claim their own scoring board here all the way down. So 4 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 4 and 2. I keep hitching here or something. That's weird. All right. So that room is basically just the scores, you know, where they have their 12 pieces, and the score will be up there. I might have to raise the ceiling a little bit. We'll still see. I'm not sure how I want to do the scoreboards. But down here now, okay, this is where things start to get interesting. This is, I guess, the system room, we'll call this. Basically in here, you're going to have your shop on this side. Yes, I said the shop. Back here is going to be your daily auction, I guess you could say. Yes, I said daily auction. We'll get to both of those in a little bit. Plus, there's going to be some other like little system areas in here too, like where you can return things, because I need the lodestones back. They're kind of expensive. You know, the shulkers that people are picking up in the shopping district, all the block, basically anything. You know, the diamond pick I'm going to give them to play the game. All that stuff, I'd like them to return it. That'd be great if they could. So I'll probably have a little dump chute there, or whatever. And then there's going to be a sign here. This is where you only pass this door if you plan on entering the dungeon, right? So this will be locked and a light will be here or something telling you whether or not the dungeon is ready, because you can only run the dungeon every like 10 minutes or so. I'm going to, you know, explicitly have a cooldown on it. But anyways, if it's available, you come in here and now you can see this leads directly into what will be the dungeon. Okay, in here is going to be two things. One, you can see 3 holes there, and we'll probably have like a hole back here. Okay, one of them, I'm not sure, you know, I have to figure out redstone spacing and stuff. One of them will be where you put your shulker box that contains your deck of cards. We'll get into that in a second. And then right here is going to be your window to choose which upgrade card you want to add to your deck of cards. Okay, so let's talk about this deck building concept. Now, for those who don't know, deck building is a game mechanic where you own a deck of cards, and as you play the game, you add new cards to your deck that make you more powerful or give you new abilities. And of course, it depends on the game, of course. But what we're going to do here is simulate that game system idea here with a shulker box that is going to be your deck of cards. And as you play this game, you will acquire new cards that will drastically change your experience within the dungeon. So essentially, you can think of this as your way of programming the dungeon to fit your desires and to tweak things to meet gameplay that you want, really. So you would come in here, put your cards in there, okay, and they're all going to get sucked out of the bottom from a hopper and everything, and go into a huge complex system in the back with all this redstone and sorting systems and everything, and it's going to figure out what cards you have in your deck and change the experience within the dungeon based on those cards. So the cards in your deck are persistent. That means that the second you start playing decked out, you will get a deck with some crappy cards in it. And every time you run the dungeon, if you succeed and make it out alive, you have a chance of acquiring some new cards that you will then keep with you in future runs. So it's a progressive system, so you get more powerful the more dungeon runs you do, and they last throughout the life cycle of the entire game. So let's dig into it then and look at the cards that I have designed so far. There will be more added, almost definitely, okay? Right now I have 5 types of cards. Every card comes in one of 4 ranks, which I will describe, you know, basically a tier 1 rank is like, it's not that great, and up to tier 4 is like, that's the really, really good version of that one. So I just have sample ranks next to all of these, but what's important isn't the rank here, it's what the title of the card is and what it does. So each of these books is going to represent a card in your deck of cards, and there's going to be a maximum to how many you have, somewhere like 8 or 9 probably. I don't know. That number doesn't matter right now, but there will be a finite limit. Any cards you put in here afterwards will be ignored. Now, we say cards. Obviously, these are books in game, but that actually provides a couple of benefits. First is you can put I could put a full description in here and talk about all the ideas. In this case, the card is called Stealth and how it works and everything. And the card can't be copied. It can't be introduced into the game because you're going to need a copy of this original for it to work in the sorting systems. Now, this first card called Stealth this one's kind of a big deal, and I don't have jump boost anymore. Okay, so to understand Stealth, you have to understand what's going on inside this dungeon. Now, throughout the dungeon, you're going to see here, I put a series of pressure plates here. They're hard because it's blackstone on blackstone. But the idea now is that there are going to be pressure plates all throughout this dungeon. Not every block, but probably like every 8 blocks, maybe every 10 blocks or something. And they're going to be clustered together such that you just can't get past it. Okay. The object is not to avoid the pressure plates. Just by traversing the dungeon, you have to step on the pressure plates. Now, every time you step on these pressure plates, there is a small chance that you will generate what I'm calling clank, like noise. Basically, this whole dungeon game is you're supposed to be like a stealthy rogue. Get in the dungeon, get the loot, and get out before the beast eats your face. That's the idea of the game. So this right here, sometimes you might make noise. And making noise, or clank as we call it, is bad. It's very bad because as your clank level raises, you are going to, you're not going to make the beasts happy. The 2 Ravagers wandering around here are going to have a much greater chance of finding you. And how that works is going to be demonstrated by this incredibly crude little hallway I just threw together here. So imagine you're walking down this hallway here, okay? And this is your side wall and it's set back a little bit. And yes, it's ugly. Not important, okay? You're coming down here and around the corner here, maybe there's a room here, right? You don't know about. Maybe the beast or the Ravager is in this room and you don't know it, okay? As you're going through the dungeon and generating clank and your clank level is increasing, eventually some of these side panels are going to get lifted up. And as they do, they're going to stay up for the remainder of your run through that dungeon. Now, obviously by lifting these up, you are greatly increasing the visibility of the Ravagers throughout the dungeon. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ravagers can aggro you up to 32 blocks away, which is essentially 1/3 the width of this entire dungeon. So as your clank goes up and these things start breaking visibility and you can like kind of see through the dungeon better, the Ravagers are they're gonna come over and they're gonna eat your face. So now that you understand how clank works and why it's bad and how the Ravagers are gonna come attack you and everything, you understand that a card called Stealth is very important. So what that does very simply is it will drastically reduce the chance of you generating clank when you walk over these pressure plates. The higher your stealth, the more quiet you're going to be as you walk through the dungeon. Next card up is a fun one. This is Beast Sense. And for this one, I want to head over to my base. So for Beast Sense, we need to grab a bell. There it is. I was hoping I had one. We're going to head out over here and we're going to show you. Yeah, a lot of you guys probably know this. You see where I'm going with this, right? The Iron Golems are they're getting killed by the Ravagers, of course. All right, so now what you can do with the Beast Sense card, if it's in your deck, the higher the rank of Beast Sense, the more frequently the bell will ring. And when the bell rings, the beasts will glow automatically for just a few seconds. So this is your way of keeping tabs on where the beasts are inside the dungeon. And the next card that you may try to acquire in the game of Decked Out is Speed Boost, okay? This one's pretty straightforward. This beacon right here is going to be configured for Speed Boost as it is right now. The higher the rank you have of Speed Boost in your deck, the more frequently this beacon will be active. So if you don't have Speed Boost, it's going to be like that. It's going to be closed off all the time. If you have Speed Boost at higher ranks, this will become active more and more, which obviously will allow you to get away from a certain somebody in the dungeon much easier. Next up is a Loot Finder. Now, this one's kind of important too. Sprinkled throughout the dungeon in some of the rooms, or in many of the rooms, are going to be like little chests like this, okay? They're generally going to be empty almost all the time. If you have Loot Finder, especially if you have high ranks of Loot Finder, there will be a chance that some items might be periodically distributed to these chests for you to acquire with your roguelike fingers. You might find emeralds, you might find low-level artifacts, maybe you'll find a new card for your deck. Who knows? And finally, we have Soul Seeker. Now, I'm not going to go into the full details of this card, but it is very interesting and very important. Suffice to say, though, if you make it through the dungeon and collect your artifacts and make it out safely, there will be 3 items presented to you here. They will be cards that hopefully will be desirable to you and hopefully will be upgrades. So you can take one of them. As soon as you take one of them, the other 3 are going to disappear through hoppers, okay? But you can take that and add it to your deck if you want. The higher rank of Soul Seeker you have, glossing over some of the details, just say that Soul Seeker is going to bring much more powerful cards as options right here for you if you are successful in the dungeon. So hopefully that will give you a taste of what it's going to be like to build a deck. Remember, they are persistent. They stick with you through the life of the game. They're not just for one run. It is encouraged for hermits to try to trade them with each other. And it's going to take a while before the tier 4 cards and even tier 3 cards are even remotely available because of that Soul Seeker property and stuff that I was talking about. But it's going to be a slow build. You're going to start out with some 1s. Maybe you'll start getting some 2s, eventually some 3s, and so on. Watching back this episode in editing makes me realize that this feels like a tutorial. Oh, I hope you guys are okay with that. I do apologize. I'm so excited about this game, and I want you guys to understand it as we are building it, because the more you understand it, the more you are going to be into it, I think, and really appreciate what we're doing here. The last 2 things I really want to talk about here, because they're so cool, I think, is the shop and the auction house. Okay, now there are going to be little windows here, and I am periodically going to update them with cards for sale, cards or possibly even low-level artifacts. Basically, you could take those hard-earned emeralds that you have and you can, just buy them here. This will be like little vending machines. You look in the window, you see what it is. Oh, there's a Stealth 2 card for sale. Boink, put your emeralds in the thing, press the button, and it pops out and it's yours to go. Over here, or somewhere, I don't even know, who knows, I might change this whole thing around, but over here, there's going to be an auction, a daily auction. Now, this is cool, because this is going to be a blind auction. I'm going to put something in there that is fairly powerful, given the state of the game and how far along it's developed. Every hermit in front of their own little scoring pod here, probably right there, is gonna have a barrel or something like that. Okay, I'm not sure. Basically, if you see that item and you want it, you can bid on it silently by throwing some emeralds in your barrel, and they will immediately get sucked out. At the end of the day, I'm going to look and see who bid the most on that item, and it's theirs. They're gonna get it. Everyone else, sorry, your emeralds are gone. Oh, the bat farm is in full effect. Oh, Azuma logged on. It's time for me to log out. It's getting late. All right, guys, I am going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate, if you're even still watching, I appreciate the patience as I describe this admittedly complicated game, but I think it's going to be amazing. Once the hermits understand it and the viewers understand it, it is going to be a ton of fun to play. And I want to stress, guys, that I am going to be live streaming a lot of the grunt work for this game. So if you have questions about the game, if you have ideas to make it better, stop over as usual at twitch.tv/TangoTech. Ask me a question. I will be there. I think, in fact, I'm streaming today, and I'm going to be working here, doing something. And there you have it. The dungeon begins. I cannot wait to start building this thing out, and I cannot wait for the game to get started. Thank you guys, as always, for the support and for watching and all the comments. I really appreciate it. If you have questions or ideas about this game, load it up, throw them at me in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.